Honestly, I think you're beat here. I mean, I don't like to make like big folds with like full houses. You know what I'm saying? But we've talked about this. He's not check jamming with the ace X of spades here, right? So you lose to a lot of the hands that you thought the guy was leading out with on the flop.
Open to $20, which is pretty much a standard size for the table.
Okay.
The hijack calls, the cutoff calls, and then the button, who's a huge nit, old man, hasn't three bet all night. Three bets to 55.
And this is and he's got 7,300 too, right?
The man on the button's got about 5,000. I
Okay,
guess.
so 5,000. Okay, 5K to 55. So you open a 20, hijack calls, cutoff calls, button, three bets to 55. I mean, he's a huge nit. Does that mean, but does he, here, this is what I would say, like when you look at the spot that I wouldn't probably dream of folding here in a live game, 7-7, but it's probably one of the hands where a couple field callers call in between that you can start to fold out. But usually when you say a guy's a nit and he's an old guy, you want him to be nitty pre but lose money post. And that's really where the value of these pairs go up against somebody with a really strong range that's just going to lose a shit ton of money post flop, right? Like if you flop a set.
Right. Right. You want to set mine and him keep pumping it in with the, right.
Yeah.
Correct. But like this guy, we haven't heard him talk all night, and he just snaps to attention and announces loudly that he's three betting to 55. So like he clearly has a good hand. You know
He said, did he say three bet?
Yeah, he says. Well, no, he said I raised the 55.
Oh, okay, all right. So he raises to 55. Okay, so you call.
Yeah, well, in between the other aggressive, solid game guy calls in the big blind, and he has the table covered.
The
and
big blind cold calls. Okay.
Yeah, the big blind cold calls.
Uh-huh.
I call, and then everybody behind me calls.
So, 1, 2, so it's 5 ways, right? 5 ways?
5 ways to the flop. Correct.
Okay. 5 ways to the flop.
And
5 ways in a 3-bet pot. Okay.
I got the pot at $280.
Okay.
All right. So the flop is the 8 of spades, the 7 of spades, and the 3 of hearts.
So you flop middle set.
Yes.
Yep.
So I flop middle set, and the other solid player just leads out for 120.
It's just interesting that you're saying that the guy's solid and he just flat called 3 bets in between. That's usually not a solid play, and the times that I would deviate from that would be, I mean, I guess this could be one of those times where it's just like, well, I'm in the big blind and I've got a pair, right? And I know the guy on the button has aces, so
right.
I think he's going to lose if I set mine, and I don't really have to worry about someone 4-bet bluffing here because we all know the guy on the button has aces and kings. So that is actually one of the times that you could slightly deviate. This is interesting though that he leads out here for 120 because you've got middle set, so
right.
It's a little bizarre.
And people I know that play solidly tend to donk with like major draws and sets, maybe 2 pair. So I'm thinking like this guy might have the nut flush draw. He might have like the 9-10 of spades, or he might have a set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So obviously you're behind to pocket 8s and you're ahead of pocket 3s. I'm not sure why you would lead though with those combo draws if the guy in the button's either just going to check back with ace king or never going to fold when you lead. It's kind of counterintuitive. That's why it's, you know, if I want to play a big draw for max fold equity, I would probably check raise. And then sometimes, you know, kind of a live hack here is you play your value hands a little bit backwards, and because you don't want to check raise like your sets because you don't want people to fold. You might just go lead. They're never going to fold. You want to get max value with your draws. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like I'm never a huge fan of slow playing, but obviously by God, you don't want to drive the button out if he has an overpair by like raising it up here. So I assume you would probably call here most of the time.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I just call,
Uh-huh.
and the hijack and cut off both fold, and the old man he also calls.
So okay, so the button calls. So the button has to have like the only time the button's not paired, right, is if it has ace king of spades, right? Pretty much.
Right.
Specifically.
That's what that's my exact read right
Yeah,
now. He
yeah,
has
yeah.
ace king of spades or aces, maybe kings.
Right, right. So 360
So,
here on the flop, so the pot is 635, right? All right.
yes.
Okay.
All right. So the turn comes out, and I don't think there's a worse card than this, but it's the six of spades.
Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting. Okay.
All right. So I'm thinking that's a pretty bad card, and which makes no sense what I do here. But so anyway, when the guy in the big blind checks, he's not the type of guy to bet his flush draw and check when it makes it. I wouldn't think so.
By
I
the way,
decide to take over and
so the
go
turn's a
ahead.
six of spades and he checks you. By the way, there's somebody that's actually pointing something out here too. Chad Johnson says that this deep there should be a raise on the flop. I can get on board with that. I mean, I just think it's a disaster sometimes when you. I think my initial thoughts here. Obviously, when you have a very very strong nut hand, you want to be raising quite a bit. I just the whole reason to sometimes get into the pots with these old guys is so that they will lose like endless amounts of money with one pair types of hands. So it's kind of it's a disaster when you drive somebody out. Now, if this dude raised the flop and then the button called anyways with an overpair, then fine. So I might have washed over that a little bit. So I mean, I think that probably raising here can obviously be fine here too. You definitely want to get money in the pot. But even if this caller just flats though, the guy in the button has about 4,500. I mean, yeah, I mean, you still want to get some money in the pot here. But here's the thing. All right, so the turn's a six of spades, like the worst card in the deck, right? So it's eight of spades, seven of spades, three of hearts, six of spades. The big blind now checks. Okay, so what do you do here?
So um I decide to bet 150, which I don't. I wanted the pot to keep growing, so if I do hit a full house, I got a nice price, and if somebody raises really big, I can just lay it down.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know
I mean,
about
it's
this
old
bet. I
man,
mean,
but
here's the thing. I don't know about this bet. I mean, I mean, I guess you can continue to get value from. Um, you can continue to get value from obviously the guy in the button if he has a high spade like aces, kings of spades, something like that. When you think about the types of hands that the big blind is leading out with here, and let's say he's not really doing I mean, if he has the nut flush draw and for some reason he checks, you're behind that. 9-10 of spades is a straight flush now. 4-5 of spades is a straight flush now. You're behind eights. I don't, yeah, I don't know if I'd be betting this turn. So you bet 150. Okay.
right. And they both just call, so I mean, I guess it didn't really hurt that bad.
All right. So button calls, big blind calls. Okay.
All right, so the river gets a little interesting because we get the three of clubs, and I got 1,090 in the pot.
Okay.
So three of clubs comes, big blind checks, and I bet 800. Um, so I bet 800. The old man thinks for a second, and he folds.
Let me just think about the
And
sizing
then
here. I mean, so you kind of bet small on the turn, 115 to 635. They both call. Now the river's at 3. So again, I mean, if we're talking about like very, very sort of accurate ranges here, something smells kind of weird in this sense. So if we said that the big blind was a solid player and we had him leading out with, like I said, some combo draws, some of which are now straight flushes, pocket eights, B2, pocket threes now B2, because it's quads. What does this guy have? I just don't know if I'm going to go this large, honestly.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to bet 800 here. I don't know what are you trying to get called
No,
here by? Just the button is so bad that he's got an overpair?
well, so I was hoping that maybe the old man had the ace king of spades or just flush in general. The ace king of spades, and I didn't know about the big blind. And I guess really I should have thought about it before I bet, because afterwards, here in a second, I come to this realization that I don't think I'm beating a lot that I was. I don't think I'm beating a lot because
I mean, you're just really hoping that someone's slow playing the nut flush here. But if you bet smaller, here's the thing too, and some people in the live chat are pointing this out. If you bet smaller, you'll get some calls from some overpairs here, and then some inferior hands actually might raise you thinking that they have the best hand. But if you go 800 here, you're never going to get raised by any
right.
flushes, and you might let overpairs fold. You know what I'm saying?
Another reason I took this size is because if I had say 6-7, like two pair, or 7-8, I mean, I'm sorry. If I had 7-8 two pair on the flop and I got my two pair counter fitted, maybe I would use this as a bluff. More to polarize myself, large size to get polarized, basically.
But yeah, but what bluff though? Like, what's the? How are you ending up with a bluff here though in this given scenario?
Yeah, it's not really very good for me. It wasn't thought through great, I guess. I kind of assumed I was going to get roasted for this, to be honest with
No,
you.
I'm just thinking it through. So you bet 800, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
so the big blind tanks for about 20 seconds, and he just shoves all in, which is about 6,200 for me to call.
So did the did the button call or what?
When I bet the button, no, the button debated and folded. He tanked for a second and folded.
So
So
button folds, and then this guy shoves for how much?
well, he put me the rest of the way all in. He had me covered, so it's like 6,200 for me to call.
Honestly, I think you're beat here. I mean, I don't like to make like big folds with like full houses. You know what I'm saying? But we've talked about this. What's interesting now, I remember this too when you emailed this in. I mean, we just logically thought about it. And again, this is just, it's one of these things where it's like, well, once usually you don't want to make a big fold like this. You got like middle full house. Here's the thing. There's a couple of combinations of straight flushes out here, like 9-10 of spades. You lose to pocket eights and you lose to quads too. So when you actually think about it, and we went through the logic, he's not check jamming with the ace X of spades here, right? You know what I'm saying, to your
Right,
$800 bet here at the end. So you lose to a lot of the hands that you thought the guy was leading out with on the flop, right? You were beating the
right,
combo draws. So if he doesn't check raise all in with the nut flush, the ace high spades at the end, you were losing to 9-10 of spades, that combo draw, right? Pocket
right,
eights and pocket threes. Now, granted, there's only one combo of pocket threes left. There's three combos of pocket eights, that's four, and maybe one or two straight flushes. It's not insane. There's 5 or 6 combos of hands that beat you. So you're like, oh, I've got a full house here. But when you actually look at the hand here, it makes a lot of sense that you're beat. I want to point something out because when you emailed me this, there was a hand that I played that was eerily similar to this a long, long time ago against a former instructor of mine at Crush Live Poker, David Chan, and I'm looking through 2+2. I want to find it here, but there was a situation where I was basically in your opponent's spot, where I flopped middle set and I let out, and David Chan had bottom set. I think it was 8-5 deuce. I had deuce deuce. Or no, excuse me. I had let me see here. Did I have 8-8? I think I might have, I had pocket eights and I had cold called this old man's raise on the button. He came out 8-5 deuce with a 2 flush. I led the flop. David Chan called, and this other guy called. The turn was a diamond. Turn was a diamond. It was the worst card in the world with me for top set. If you're looking at this from your opponent's perspective with 8-8, I check with top set
Right.
on 8-5 deuce. The turn was like the 3 of diamond. I think it might have been the 4 of diamonds. Put a straight flush out there. So it was like 8-5 deuce, 4 of diamonds, straight flush out there. I check. David Chan makes the bet that you made. Tiny. The guy in the button calls. I call. And then the river was like an 8 and I made quads. I can't remember if I had top set or middle set. Anyways, I made quads on the river with multiple straight flushes out there. He had deuces full. I bet the river. He raised me, and then I jammed on him, and he raised folded the river with bottoms full. I think that you're actually beat here. The interesting part of my hand, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to post it up for the best of on YouTube, and then also too, hopefully in this live stream if I can find it. The interesting part of my hand was that I had a decision whether or not I should actually even raise back all in with quads, because if he was going to fold out bottom full house, I could have actually been up for a straight flush, but I'll find it here in a second. But anyways, what ended up happening? What did you do?
Well, I basically just walked through the same logic we just walked through live right now, and I came to the conclusion that I don't think I'm good. So I folded. The kid next to me asked to see my hand as I was thinking, and I showed him, and when I folded, he kind of made like a big deal about it, like, "Oh my God, you folded a full house."
Did you ever
And
find out
I
what the
just
guy
told him,
had?
like, well, yeah. So after the table calmed down a little bit, the guy told me he had pocket eights, which I thought, like, he could be full of shit. But about 10 minutes later, I took a smoke break, and he came over. And this guy was taking notes, which is another reason why I thought he was pretty solid. And he came over and showed me in his notes that he had 8-8 as his hand. I don't think he would lie about it. So
Yeah, that he had
seems like I
80.
made the proper fold.
Some people are
Yeah.
saying this is the easiest fold in the world. By the way, I found the hand, and I posted it in the live stream chat. So there's a link in there. It came from December 11th, 2011. So almost 10 years ago. 510 live quads. I'll just read it out for the people here, because I got a lot of the details right, but this is somewhat interesting. And I remember when you emailed me this in, obviously, I mean, it's just a coincidence, right? We play thousands of hands, but so I said this. So this is at Hollywood Park, 510, $5,800 effective. Heroes in the small blind. Under the gun, so I said, villain in the hand is an aggressive and big winner. This is David Chan. We tend to be staying out of each other's way. Heroes in the small blind. Under the gun limps. Under the gun plus 2 limps. Villain in MP1 over limps. Now I remember this. I didn't have 8-8. I had 5-5. And this is key because David would have raised with pocket 8s over 2 limps. So villain 1 over limps. Cutoff limps, button, old man makes it 55. He doesn't raise light with an $800 stack. I call. I have pocket 5s. Okay, so I have 5-5 in the small blind. Goes like 5 ways. The board comes out 8 of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 3 of hearts. Actually, why don't I just post it here so that everyone can see it? Here we go. So the board comes out. There we go. Board comes out 8 of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 3 of hearts. Pot's 275. So I flop middle set. I lead for 175. Villain calls. Pre-flop raiser calls. Pot's 800. I have middle set. Turns the deuce of hearts. I'm sorry, not a 4. The deuce of hearts. So there's a straight flush out there. Ace 4 and 4, 6 of hearts. I check. Obviously, it's a very bad card for me, right, with middle set. David Chan bets 300 into 800 from the middle. The pre-flop raiser calls on the button. I call. Pot 1700. The river is a 5. So I make quads. The river's a 5. I make quads. And it looks like I need to pull this shit up here because you guys, I didn't realize that you wouldn't be able to see this. Give me 1 second so everyone can see it here. So I make quads. And I decide to lead out on the river here for 650 into 1700. So I have pocket 5s. I got 4-5. The board's 8 of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 3 of hearts, deuce of hearts, river's a 5 of diamonds. I lead for 650. David Chan raises to 1700. I've got quads, right? 8-5-3, deuce 5. I've got pocket 5s. Preflop raiser fold back over to me. Now, what was interesting about this, and again, this comes from a post from 2+2 from 2011, was should I 3-bet the river with quads? Should I 3-bet the river with quads? Because if I don't think that David Chan has pocket 8s here because he didn't raise preflop, and I think he would 100% raise 8-8 over the top of these idiot limpers, then what is he left with here? He's really left
Is there
with...
a bad beat?
Well, he's left with having, I guess he must have had pocket 3s. He's left with having pocket 3s, right, that he's raising a full house with because he doesn't have 8s, or somehow he has a straight flush. If he's going to fold pocket 3s here, then is this a 3-bet on the river? Should I be 3-betting quads here on the river if he's going to fold pocket 3s? I ended up jamming all in, and he folded pocket 3s. What's interesting about this is that there's a bad beat jackpot. So when you throw this into the whole equation, it's like, well, if you jam and he has the straight flush, you're going to win the bad beat jackpot. But that still doesn't change the highest EV play. I actually think you made a good fold, Nathaniel, but it brings back memories basically to this hand from 2011. I thank you very much for the call.
Well, thank you. I was David Chan in the hand, like 100%.
I'll let him know. I'll let him know that. All right. Thanks for the call, man. Take it easy.
Thanks, Bart.
All right. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.